I know that money is an important part of my life, whether it is saving it for later, investing it to have more, or using it to buy a product or an experience. We cannot live a life without money. Hi, Jarod here, and today let's talk about investing and spending. And in this video, I will teach you the key ideas of investing, then my strategies and how to apply them. Alright, the FIRE movement is a popular strategy among young people. It stands for financial independence, retire early. The model became popular among young people in the 2010s, gaining traction through online communities via information shared in blogs, podcasts, and online discussion forums. So the goal here is to maximize your savings rates. And you have two possibilities. First, you find ways to increase your income, so what comes in, and secondly, you find ways to decrease your expenses, so what goes out. The idea is that the higher your income and the lower your expenses, and the faster you can reach financial independence. Which brings us to the long-term approach. But first, I have a question for you. What will a penny doubled for 40 days be worth? In other words, on day 1 you have 0.01, on day 2 0.02, then 0.04, and so on. Well, when I learned about this penny, I didn't think it could go that high, like maybe a few $1,000s at first. It is a tricky question. Doubling a penny doesn't seem like that much, right? But at the end of that 30 days, that $0.01 is worth $5,368,000. And this is the power of compounding, or snowball effect. The growth is almost non-existent in the beginning, but then the compound effect kicks in and you start to see a huge difference. So the key takeaway from this should be to start investing early and think in the long-term game. Let your money work for you. This tricky question is highly important for us as a spender and investor because it allows us to see what is the power of a penny over time. Of course, it is almost impossible to replicate this performance if I had a penny for the next 30 days, simply because I would need a return on investment of 100% a day, which is astonishing. Even a good investor like Warren Buffett has a return on investment of roughly 20% a year. So with that in mind, let's see how we could take advantage of the compound effect on a smaller scale. And to be honest, this radically changed the way I use my money each day. Let's say you have $10 in your pockets. You have almost an unlimited amount of possibilities. Then you can of course invest or save it. You can also give it to someone else, buy a gift, video game, foods or product like earbuds or service like Netflix subscription. But what if those $10 were not worth $10? Okay, so let me explain. Remember, the goal is to increase your income, so you have to invest your money into something relatively safe and which will bring you more than inflation, which is around 2% a year. And instead of investing in individual companies whose value might highly fluctuate and never recover, I will personally choose the easiest way to invest in the stock market, so the S&P 500. This word name is a basket of the 500 biggest US companies. It is by far one of the safest investments you could ever make. It's been around for 80 years now and has always returned 10% a year on average. Simply take your favorite broker. It could be Robinhood if you're American or Trade Republic if you're European. Then buy some shares. The most popular are iShares and Vanguard, but feel free to choose whatever you want. So let's go back to our $10. If you had $10 in 1920, your $10 will not be worth $9 or $8 anymore, but $0.59. Knowing this, it is safe to assume that $10 today will be worth less than $1 in 100 years. But investing in the S&P 500 would give you more. I mean, way more. Here's the real power of $10 in 10 years, then 20 years, and finally, 30 years. As you can see, it easily beats inflation, but it also allows you to significantly grow your wealth thanks to the compound effect and long-term investing. Remember what $10 can buy you today. Well, in 30 years, they will buy you twice as much as today. So, twice as much as video games, experiences, products, gifts, or simply wealth. Alright, now we have a huge chunk of information to start with. But the only way to live a better life is by investing in yourself first. This will allow you to get good, better, and smarter over time. Start by reading a book. It doesn't cost you that much, and it will bring you dozens of quotes and things to think about for a moment. And if you don't know where to start, simply Google good investing books, or whatever books you would like to read. Ask a friend or your family if you want even more recommendations, and you might not like the first few books. Or maybe you will, but always feel free to stop reading it and switch it to another one. For instance, I know that I don't like fiction books, like novels, classics, and so on. I prefer to read non-fiction books, like self-help, investing, and so on. And I would also recommend to close and delete anything that is related to the news. It can be highly interesting sometimes, but most of the time, it is useless information you will eventually forget over time. For instance, I was constantly receiving notifications from Yahoo, like what was the market doing today, which companies went up, down, or other pointless news. In fact, investing is in the long term, so why would I need daily news about the markets anyway? Moreover, it can be overwhelming sometimes, so no brainer, I'll just switch off the news. Okay, now I would say that in order to keep the right habits of investing and saving, you should shift your mindset. So, what does that even mean? It's when your mind changes from one way of thinking to a different way of thinking. This video cannot help you become someone different if you do not want to. Why would you spend 6 hours a week at the gym? Why would you want to wake up every morning if you have no ambitions, nothing to conquer? And that's the thing. That's the question to answer. Napoleon Hill wrote his book Think and Grow Rich almost 90 years ago, in 1947, and his principles are still as valid today as they were back then. Having a burning desire is the main principle of Think and Grow Rich. I've always been told that it is great to have goals and a system in life, or whatever you could think of, whether it is going to the gym, doing your homework, writing a book, chores, and so on. But you need to add another layer on top of that, the desire to reach those goals. Simply ask yourself what motivates you every day to wake up. Write it down and glue it on a wall just as a reminder. Start small, but start. Build a system around that goal to make your work more efficient and enjoyable, and stick to your plan in the long term. That is what I do for investing, the gym, and my YouTube channel. And let's see what will be the results in a year or two. I would also recommend making a list of your investing and spending habits that will allow you to actively track what comes in and what comes out. And I think that is by far the best way to first save money, because it allows you to see what's in your bank account or what's not, and secondly, because it allows you to think in the long term. Because when I see my list of habits, I become aware of what was right and what was wrong. I can more easily change and reduce what makes me lose money while doing more of what brings me money. So, how to do it? Well, take a pen and a piece of paper, your phone or tablet. Simply take something to write, and my money tracker list looks something like that. First, write down the dates, then the source of your money, so where it comes from, then feel free to add a description box if you wanna add a personal note to it. Then the type of my operation, so it can be an asset if I buy something that makes me money, a liability if that's something that will not make me money, like a video game for instance, an income or a transfer from my bank to somewhere else, for instance, and finally, I put the amount in euro or dollars. Okay, the last thing to think about is the impact it could have on your life. Maybe not today, but at least in the long term. What can be the impact of bad spending and investing habits? It could be living beyond your means, for instance, not having enough when you want to retire, or maybe bad debt management. I would recommend taking 5 minutes to simply visualize what could happen in 5 to 10 years if you keep your current habit, with the same income, spending and investing habits, and above all, how can you improve it? So, could be maximizing your investments while reducing useless spending. So, we know what to do with money. We make our own decisions that will later shape our life. And it is up to us to save or invest our earned money as we want. And if you have enjoyed this video, you might like this one where I invest in front of you live each month. Thanks so much for watching. Feel free to leave a comment down below, subscribe if you want to see more, and as always, I will see you in the next one.